The man who keeps a way out never gets all the way in. If you have a plan B, you will serve it when plan A gets hard, and if you keep a second door, you will never set fire to the first one. I am not here to encourage you, and I am here to show you that the only way forward is to remove the option of going back. The most powerful men in history did not have more options. They made one decision and made it final. There is a quiet betrayal that takes place in the minds of most men, a betrayal not spoken, but rehearsed. It is the hidden clause, the quiet agreement, the fallback plan silently kept in reserve. It is called Plan B. And while it sounds wise, while it wears the language of strategy, it is nothing more than a safety net for fear. It is the architecture of escape. And the moment you construct it, you have already told your subconscious that failure is on the table. You have already whispered that you do not fully believe. You have already announced, without saying a word, that you do not intend to burn the bridge behind you. No man ever became unstoppable while planning for retreat. No empire was ever built by a man with 1 foot in the future and 1 foot in the safe zone. You cannot walk toward greatness while leaving the door cracked behind you. The man who leaves a way out has already planned to use it. The moment you hold back a portion of your will, just in case, you divide your force, you split your intention, and you weaken your claim to the outcome you say you desire. Your subconscious does not operate by appearances, it operates by structure and repetition. And when you say, "This is my aim," but secretly add, "and if not, I'll do this instead," the subconscious hears confusion. It hears compromise, and confusion never creates command. Your mind must receive one order, one clear, final, absolute instruction. And that instruction must be backed not with wish or half-belief, but with faith made visible through action. I have written this in stone. Desire backed by faith knows no such word as impossible. But I tell you now, faith cannot coexist with fallback. Faith dies in the presence of retreat. Faith cannot live in the same body as doubt. Faith, if it is real, consumes everything else. And until you build that kind of faith, one desire, no retreat, you will never access the full strength of your own mind. When you remove the escape hatch, you begin to see what you're truly made of. And most men don't want to know. That's why they leave the second door open. That's why they say, "We'll see what happens." That's why they say, "I'm just keeping my options open." Because they are afraid to know what happens when they remove the possibility of quitting. They are afraid of the pressure. But pressure is what purifies. Pressure is what forces clarity, sharpens decisions, and births momentum. Look to the men who burned history into stone, not because they were clever, but because they were committed beyond reversal. Look at Hernán Cortés, the man who brought 600 men across the sea to conquer an empire. And when they landed, he did not prepare for retreat. He did not plan for resistance. He burned the ships, and in that fire he sent a message, not to the enemy, but to his own men. There would be no going back. There was only forward or death, and in that pressure they did not collapse. They rose. Look at Andrew Carnegie, who decided that he would master the steel industry. He did not play it safe. He did not try multiple ventures just in case one failed. He did not split his efforts across industries to diversify his risk. He chose steel, and then he poured everything into it: time, focus, capital, identity. He did not leave the bridge intact. He built forward with no rear view. And because of that, he did not just grow wealth, he became the lawmaker of an industry. This is the fire you must now walk into. You will not be refined by hope. You will not be reshaped by dabbling. You will not be rebuilt by backup plans. You will be rebuilt by finality. You must say, "This is the aim," and then move as if nothing else exists. You must begin to act as if there is no way out, because the truth is, the man who gives himself no way out begins to tap into power that the average man will never touch. You will begin to think differently when failure is not an option. You will begin to listen more closely, observe more sharply, move more decisively, because now it must work. And that urgency will eliminate your excuses. It will purge your distraction. It will refine your standards. And from that refining fire, a new version of you will be forged, one that is not interested in applause or rescue, but in finishing what he started. Men fail not because of lack of skill, but because of too many soft exits. They say, if this doesn't work, I'll fall back on that. They say, let's give it some time, and if not, we'll try another direction. But that is not belief. That is a man negotiating with his own cowardice. And I tell you now, you will not negotiate with fear and win. You must remove the door, lock the hinge, burn the map. You must tell your mind, your body, your very blood, this is it. We go forward. We do not turn. You are not here to try. You are here to enforce. You are not here to test the waters. You are here to take the hill. And you will take it only when the possibility of surrender has been removed from your vocabulary. And now I give you your first declaration in this new life. Say it slowly. Say it with finality. Say it like a man who has cut the rope behind him and thrown the blade into the sea. I am the man who moves without retreat. I build without exit. I rise without a second door. Again. I am the man who moves without retreat. I build without exit. I rise without a second door. Because from this day forward, the only plan is the one you declared. And it will be completed. Because there is no longer a path that allows you to walk away. Only forward, only fire, only finish. The subconscious mind does not obey indecision. It does not respond to halfway commitments. It cannot serve a divided master. The mind, if it is to act as your greatest servant, must be given a single, clear, final instruction. And that instruction must be followed without detour. But when a man leaves an option open, when he builds his life with an escape hatch quietly tucked behind his aim, what he has created is not freedom, but conflict. He has given his subconscious two roads to obey. And a mind that must choose between two conflicting commands will choose neither. It will drift. You cannot rise while entertaining retreat. You cannot build while simultaneously asking yourself what to fall back on if it doesn't work. Every time you keep another plan, another path, another opportunity just in case, you are dividing the very force that you need to succeed. And force divided is force dissolved. The reason most men remain average is not because they lack ambition. It is because they lack obedience to one decision. They do not want to let go of all their options, so they dabble, they try, they taste, but they never build. Because building requires devotion, and devotion cannot be shared with safety nets. The man who becomes unstoppable is not the man who knows the most. He is the man who has committed the deepest. The man who no longer looks for another way. The man who no longer says, if this doesn't work. Because the moment that phrase enters your mind, your spirit has already weakened. You cannot fully commit while planning for collapse. You cannot think with force while entertaining maybe. You cannot build with authority while whispering plan B in the background of your belief. A decision is not a preference. It is a spiritual command. It is a line drawn in fire. And every time you act, every time you speak, every time you breathe, you do so in full submission to that line. That is what changes men. That is what burns weakness to ash. That is what tells the subconscious there is only one direction: forward. Let me give you the law plainly. You cannot become what you will not fully serve. And to fully serve, you must remove the return map. You must erase the second option. You must kill the sentence that begins with, if this doesn't, because there is no if. There is only this will be done. And if it takes 10 years, it takes 10 years. If it takes failure, so be it. If it takes rebuilding the entire structure of your mind, your habits, and your life, so be it. But you will not leave. You will not shift direction. You will not excuse the pain with backup plans. Think now of Thomas Edison, a man who failed thousands of times in search of one working design. He did not try one path and then choose another when it became difficult. He did not say, "If this doesn't work, I'll pursue something else." He devoted. He did not live for comfort. He lived for the completion of one thing. He did not treat failure as a sign to quit. He treated it as a message. Try again, sharper, more refined, more committed. He held no plan B because he did not require one. He would succeed or he would learn until he succeeded. That is why he invented light while the world waited in darkness. You must ask yourself now, what is the light you have been assigned to build? And what is the shadow you keep protecting by holding on to another path? It is time to identify the exits. Identify the moments, the phrases, the patterns where you've been hedging, where you've said just in case, where you've kept a skill, a contact, a plan in your back pocket for safety. That safety is costing you force. That safety is dividing your destiny, and it must be removed. Take the pen. Draw a line down the page. On one side, write your aim, the thing you must do, the one mountain you have chosen to climb. On the other side, write every whisper of escape you've been entertaining, the jobs you keep for security, the people you keep around to validate your hesitation, the words you say to soften your fear. I'll give it time. I'll see how it goes. If it works, then write them all down. Now cross them out. That act, though simple, is sacred because it tells your mind, we do not go back. You are not the man you were when you kept exits. You are now the man who moves without them. And that movement will change everything, not because you have new skills, but because you have new authority. Your presence will change. Your habits will harden. Your standards will rise because you have stopped giving your power away to what if. And now, your affirmation. Say it not like a quote. Say it like a vow. Let your voice match the weight of what you've just declared. I remove the back door. I revoke the retreat. I advance with no reserve. Again. I remove the back door. I revoke the retreat. I advance with no reserve. Because the man who no longer allows retreat is the man who now commands respect from himself first and then from the world. The man who reaches the top does not arrive by knowing more. He arrives because he decided earlier, moved sooner, and refused to retreat. The world does not reward intelligence. It rewards finality. Finality is the spiritual cement that turns thought into structure. It is the mental knife that cuts away options. It is the invisible force that makes mountains move, not because the man was brilliant, but because the man refused to turn back. While others studied, he decided. While others waited, he walked. While others collected opinions, he enforced his own. This is the truth. The world moves around the man who cannot be moved. Not the clever one, not the one with the most plans, but the man who has given himself one aim and placed his entire identity behind it. That man becomes magnetic. That man becomes undeniable. That man becomes the reference point by which others must recalculate. You do not need more facts. You need finality, because until your decision becomes final, your power will remain partial. And partial power is no power at all. Decision is not just a mental act, it is a spiritual law. When you decide, truly decide, all the invisible forces of the world begin to align behind that declaration. But the moment you second guess, you disband the army. You lose the current. You confuse the subconscious. You send mixed instructions to the very system designed to obey you. The mind does not honor the man who flinches. It honors the man who commands. Most men delay decision hoping for certainty. But certainty does not precede decision. It follows it. The man who acts first becomes certain in the fire. He builds certainty by walking into the unknown, by staying the course when discomfort calls, by refusing to revise his direction when doubt knocks. And it is in this fire that finality is forged. Not in thinking, but in walking. Not in comfort, but in commitment. Look to Henry Ford. He was not a man of backup plans. He was not distracted by what others were doing. He did not shift his aim based on economic tides or public opinion. He decided that the average man would drive, and once he decided, he never asked again. He built for the working man. He created systems for the masses. He refused to add features when others pressured him to change. Why? Because he had already chosen. And the man who has already chosen is not interested in revision. He is interested in completion. Ford's strength was not in mechanics, it was in mental finality. His refusal to be moved gave his engineers something to rally behind. It gave the company a fixed star, and that star did not flicker, even under pressure. He did not ask for permission to simplify. He did not entertain endless suggestions. He walked forward with a direction so final that others had to adjust their beliefs to match it. That is the kind of force that reshapes markets. That is the kind of will that commands history. And you must now ask yourself, have I truly decided, or am I still negotiating with old options? Because the man who is still wondering is the man who has not yet moved. He may be busy, but he is not certain. He may be productive, but he is not powerful. He is still available to distraction. Decision is not a feeling. It is not a phase. It is not something you stumble into after studying all the data. It is a moment, a line, a sentence spoken in the private court of your own soul. This is what I will do, and I will not change. That sentence, once spoken in fire, becomes law, and every thought, every step, every sacrifice after that must answer to it. When you reach this level of decision, you begin to draw invisible forces to your side. You begin to see doors open where there were none. You begin to find strength in places you once collapsed. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You stopped asking. You started commanding. You stopped browsing. You started building. And your identity began to harden into something the world must now reckon with. You must now make the final decision. Not in word, in posture, in schedule, in movement. You must cut away the questions that no longer deserve your time. You must eliminate the idea that you can come back to this later. You must speak your aim aloud and declare that it is now permanent. This is the end of drift. This is the end of wandering. This is the beginning of force. Now I give you your affirmation. Say it like a man who is already walking into completion. I decide and do not turn. I choose and do not tremble. I walk forward and do not look back. Again. I decide and do not turn. I choose and do not tremble. I walk forward and do not look back. Because the men who move the world are not the ones who waited for certainty. They are the ones who made it. Fear does not survive in the heart of a man who has eliminated his exits. It cannot feed where there is no retreat. It cannot grow where the door has been bolted shut. It cannot command where the bridge has been burned. Fear feeds on options, the idea that you still have another way, another path, another plan. So long as a man believes that he can fall back, he will hesitate in the direction he needs to go most. He will water his belief with doubt. He will walk, but only at half pace. He will move, but only with one eye on the escape. And as long as he does, he will never know what it means to be free. You must understand this. Fear requires an escape hatch to stay alive. It survives on indecision. It multiplies in spaces of uncertainty. It keeps its power through the promise of postponement. And this is why so many men feel paralyzed, not because they lack the ability to move forward, but because they have made retreat an option. They may say they believe in their goal. They may say they are committed. But if they are still keeping a door open behind them, fear will always find a place to enter. The only way to kill fear is to remove what it feeds on. That means removing the possibility of going back. That means eliminating the secondary path. That means declaring in voice and in movement, there is no other way, this is it. And when that declaration is real, when it is final, fear begins to starve, because now the man is not available for retreat, Now the man is not wondering what he will do if it doesn't work. Now the man is advancing, and fear cannot keep up with a man who is no longer hesitating. Let me make it clear. No plan B does not just sharpen your focus. It kills your fear. It calls upon strength you did not know you had. It summons clarity in chaos. It unlocks movement in the middle of pressure. Not because the path is easier, but because you've removed the alternative. That is where courage is born. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the absence of escape. And the man who walks forward without the possibility of retreat discovers just how strong he actually is. Look now at John D. Rockefeller. In times of panic and collapse, when others fled, when men clutched at their capital and froze in fear, Rockefeller continued building. He bought when others sold. He moved when others paused. He did not panic. He did not drift. He stayed fixed. Why? Because he was married to his mission. He was not exploring other industries. He was not second-guessing his aim. He had made the decision, and once made, it was done. And that mental finality gave him peace when others were overtaken by pressure. He did not need escape. He had already removed it. And in its place, he installed certainty. You must now do the same. You must locate the places where fear still speaks, and you must trace each one back to its source. You will always find the same thing at its root: an escape you have not removed, a path you have not burned, a phrase you still say to give yourself relief from commitment. We'll see how this plays out. I'll give it 6 months. If it works, then... These are not strategy. These are cracks in your foundation. And through those cracks, fear enters. Take inventory now. Ask yourself, where am I still holding back? Where am I still negotiating with fear? What decision have I delayed? What conversation have I avoided? What move have I postponed? Not because I am unready, but because I have not yet removed the exit. Find it, circle it, eliminate it. That act, though it may look small, will shift your entire internal structure. Because when you kill the escape, you ignite the mind. The man who has nowhere to go but forward will find new strength in every step. This is not theory. This is law. The mind, once fully committed, begins to operate differently. The will hardens. The body responds. The eyes sharpen. And the actions that once required force now become natural, because they are no longer one of many. They are the only path. And when the path becomes singular, your power becomes focused. And focused power does not ask for fear's opinion. Now I give you your drill. Take a page. At the top, write, where fear speaks, escape still exists. Then write every place in your life where you feel resistance, hesitation, tension. Now ask, what have I not burned? The backup contact, the fallback job, the plan you told no one about but still keep in your pocket. The voice that says, if it fails, identify it. Then cross it out with the full intention of a man who is ready to move without retreat. Because you are not here to flirt with destiny, you are here to marry it. And now your affirmation. Say it not to silence fear, but to starve it. I do not consult fear. I do not keep escape. I kill the exit. I move with fire. Again. I do not consult fear. I do not keep escape. I kill the exit. I move with fire. Because from this moment forward, you are not a man who asks for courage. You are a man who summons it by walking forward with no way back. Success does not arrive like a favor. It does not appear because you tried. It does not respond to polite request. Success is not achieved. It is demanded. And the man who demands it is not rude. He is not arrogant. He is simply resolved. He has removed the internal discussion. He no longer asks, will this happen? He says, it will be done. And once that is his tone, once that is his posture, success begins to shift in his direction. Not because he is entitled, but because he has made himself immovable. This is what no plan B does. It removes the possibility of waiting. It destroys the permission you once gave yourself to delay. It closes the door on passivity and replaces it with enforcement. A man who cannot retreat becomes a man who must produce. And that necessity awakens a power most men never tap, not because they were incapable of greatness, but because they always left themselves the option to wait until they felt ready. Readiness is a luxury the committed man cannot afford. He moves without it. He decides in spite of it. He makes results a requirement, not a reward. The moment you say, "I will do this," or "I will rebuild until it is done," you have shifted your relationship with life. You are no longer a seeker. You are now a builder. You are no longer a dreamer. You are now a commander. And while others watch and wonder and wait, you finish. Let me give you one of my laws. Success requires no apology. Failure permits no alibi. And the man who understands this does not look for excuses. He does not ask to be understood. He does not explain why he is not further along. He simply builds again. He adjusts. He adapts. He continues. Because he is not married to the result. He is married to the responsibility. And responsibility does not need permission to succeed. It needs persistence. When you remove Plan B, you remove the illusion of final failure. You begin to see that every setback is a correction, not a defeat. Because you are no longer entertaining alternatives. You will get the outcome, or you will become the man who gets the outcome. Either way, you win. This is what separates the few who finish from the many who fade. They are unavailable to failure as a destination. You must become that man, not someday, today. Because as long as you're still waiting to feel certain, as long as you're still wondering whether the result is guaranteed, you will never demand enough from yourself to break through. The man who moves mountains is the man who refuses to pause until the mountain has moved. And when it doesn't move the first time, he brings another tool, another angle, another level of fire. Because he is not asking for success, he is claiming it. Look now to Abraham Lincoln, a man who failed repeatedly in his early years. He lost elections. He lost battles. He faced criticism that would have made most men retreat. He walked into leadership at the brink of national collapse. But he did not yield. He did not waver. He stayed anchored to the path. He did not say, "Let me try something else." He did not ask to be spared from the weight. He shouldered it. He bore it. He grew stronger beneath it. Because to him, the path was not optional. It was sacred. And that is how you must now walk. You are no longer here to experiment with identity. You are here to demand results from it. You are no longer here to test the waters. You are here to cross the sea. You are no longer asking for a chance. You are saying, "This will be done. I will adjust. I will continue. I will complete." And if you say it enough, with fire, with repetition, with movement, your results will begin to obey you. You must now demand more from your time. No more casual hours. No more reactive mornings. No more quiet surrender to average standards. You must now demand more from your thoughts. No more rehearsal of fear. No more comforting lies. No more someday thinking. And you must now demand more from your words. You do not speak aimlessly. You speak to instruct your mind. You speak to enforce your direction. You speak only when your words are followed by action. This is what no Plan B gives you. It forces a level of clarity that leaves no room for indulgence. And that clarity becomes strength. You will begin to see opportunities you once missed. Not because they weren't there, but because you are now ready to recognize them. The man who demands success sees what others ignore. He listens for signals others drown out. He moves when others are still evaluating. He acts as if the result is already owed to him by the laws of decision, because in truth it is. And now, I give you your affirmation. Say it not to ask. Say it to declare. Say it until your mind accepts that success is no longer a wish. I do not attempt, I demand. I do not retreat, I rework. I do not quit, I conquer. Again, I do not attempt, I demand. I do not retreat, I rework. I do not quit, I conquer. Because the man who cannot walk away will always find a way.